How are you guys doing tonight?
Okay, what we're going to do, if we could, usually, as we always do, we field the questions from the audience, and then at the end, we ask the guests to stand up and take photos. So rather than taking photos all through the process, just because the flashes get hard to look at after a while, we'll do the photos at the very end if we could. And again, if you have a question, just raise your hand. If you're called on, just stand up. Please, just one question, because I'm sure everyone has one. When you're called on, just please stand up and project loudly so we can hear. Okay? Right here.
How was filming this fight scene in May Live with Piper and Keith David?
Everybody hear him?
How was the fight scene in May Live filming that, like Keith David and Roddy Piper?
We started out to make a fight scene that lasted about a reel long, which is 10 minutes. The only fight scene I could remember in a movie was in The Quiet Man, that sucked. So I wanted to do a good one. So we had a stunt coordinator, Jeff Amata, who's very, very famous in Hollywood. And Roddy was a wrestler, and he knows how to do it. And Keith knew nothing, but we worked for a month and a half on it, training it, planning it. And by the time we were shooting it, they were making contact with each other. And we were pulling punches. And we shot it in about 3 days.
Right here.
When Halloween 3 was first made, I remember the plan was that I read every year there was supposed to be a different Halloween film with a different storyline. I was wondering, were there any other storylines developed you had planned to make in addition to that one?
Everybody hear that? Yeah. Well, Halloween 3 came out and tanked. What the audience wanted was the guy in the mask. So everyone abandoned all the plans to make different movies at Halloween and went back to the guy in the mask.
Right here.
There's a lot of beautiful women in this, so how come they don't ask questions?
I'm sure you're an incredible director, but what do you do? What's your juice in life if you have a day off? What do you do just to enjoy the day, relax?
Well, I can't be bothered with anything during basketball season. I'm a basketball fan.
There you go.
I don't want to say anything too inflammatory tonight, but I'm not so sure about the Philadelphia 76ers.
Neither are we.
And I'm not so sure about the New Jersey Nets either. And I realize I'm just hanging out. I like to stay away from people, relax, kick back, that kind of thing.
Any questions over here?
There's
Right
a
here.
beautiful woman over here raising her hand. What made me want to become a filmmaker? When I was a kid, I grew up watching movies. I was a kid from northern New York, and my dad moved us to Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the middle of the Bible Belt in the Jim Crow South. And I had no idea what was going on. So there was one place that I could be happy for several hours at a time, and that was the movies. And I grew up during the 1950s. And during that time, there were a lot of science fiction and horror movies, and I fell in love with them. So that was what made me want to become a director. I wanted to do what I saw. First movie I realized, thank you. First time I realized there was somebody behind the camera was Roger Corman's name kept popping up on all these horror films. And it said director. I said, well, I wonder what that is. So I looked it up, and he's the guy who sort of decides what the film is going to be like, sensually, visually. So that's what I wanted to be.
Over here.
I think I can speak for just about everyone in this room when I say that we're incredibly excited for your return to the big screen with the award coming up.
Yeah.
What can we expect to see from that?
The award came along after I had taken a very long absence from filmmaking, almost 9 years. I directed a couple of TV things for Masters of Horror, which were on Showtime or something? I had a real good time shooting those. I enjoyed myself. And I thought, if I can find something small to do, something contained, and some really good actors, I might try it again. And this came along, and it seemed perfect. I didn't have to work too many days in a row. And I found a really, really great cast. So it's a psychological horror film. It takes place in the loony bin, insane asylum, with a bunch of Hollywood actresses in there. That's about it.
Right here.
Yes, in this day and age of remakes, and you talking about being a fan of the sci-fi and horror movies of the 50s, is there any one in particular that if you had the opportunity to remake, that you would like to remake?
I don't think so. Not really. Not really. But you know, they've always remade movies in Hollywood. Always, always. They remade Maltese Falcon, and Star is Born was remade several times. So it's not something new.
Back here.
Just to add on to the question about what made you want to become a film writer, what would you say was your favorite movie as a child that really inspired you?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's really interesting. When I was really, really young, I saw this movie in 3D called It Came From Outer Space. If you see it now, it's a little bit creaky, but I had no idea what was going on. This was in 1952, so I would have been around 4 or 5 years old. So I wasn't quite sure what I was seeing, and I had these glasses on. And the opening scene, this meteor comes across the desert, comes right at me, and blows up in my face. And I jumped up and started running for my life. I took off, and then I stopped and said, hey, this is fabulous. What's going on here? That really got me emotionally hooked, and I think that I saw Forbidden Planet, which was a space movie in the 50s, and I think that, I said, I gotta do something like this.
I have a question with the reemergence of 3D. Is that something, because that movie influenced you? Is that working in 3D? Is that something you can see in your future?
Never. But didn't you guys like Avatar, right? Is it good? Okay. I'm hearing some no's.
Anybody can make a movie for $4 billion.
Oh, okay.
In the back there.
Could you discuss the origins of Prince of Darkness, how that get developed?
The origins in what sense?
Prince of Darkness.
The movie Prince of Darkness.
What about them? What do you mean?
Like, what was the when you how did you develop the idea to do a movie? Because it seemed very much like a supernatural cult thriller. And did you write the movie or was it in on it or something like that?
I missed what last thing you said. You said it seemed like a supernatural cult.
Supernatural cult thriller.
Uh-huh.
Seemed a little uncharacteristic of anything you had done before. Was this your original idea, or was it something that was given to you?
It was my original idea. I made a deal to make low-budget films again, and it was a contained horror film. And I was playing around with reading a lot of quantum physics, quantum mechanics in those days. That's science that was very small. And I thought I'd try a little something. It was just, it was a lot of fun to make. I really enjoyed the movie. I got to work with Alice Cooper, and you can't get better than that.
Okay, right here.
It's a two-part question. Who have you worked with that you enjoyed working with actor-wise, and who would you like to work with?
There are several actors that I love to work with because they're such pros. Kurt Russell, Sam Neill, Jeff Bridges. They bring it every day. They come and bring it. Who would I like to work with? I always wanted to work with Gene Hackman, but he left the business. He quit, so I would love to work with him.
Okay, right there.
Yeah, what is it exactly that got you your big break?
What got me my big break?
Sure.
Halloween.
No, how you got your resources to get to that big break.
I made a student film and I turned it into a feature film. It was released in 1974. I thought they were going to come driving up in a limo and pick me up and take me to the soundstage. I thought I was going to be anointed. Instead, nobody gave a shit. So I started to write my way in the movie business. I wrote a couple of screenplays, started making some money, found some independent money, and made another film, Assault on Precinct 13, in 1976. That movie tanked at the box office, but it got a great critical response in Europe. So that critical response sort of came back around, and I was approached by a low-budget distribution company to make Halloween, originally titled The Babysitter Murders. And that's what got me going. What gets you on the map is when you make money for somebody. That's it. That's all there is to it. You gotta make money for them. Or if all the critics call you the next coming of Jesus, they'll work with you then.
Okay, over here.
Do you have some favorite music that you've written for one of your own films?
I kind of like all the scores. They're fun to do. Truthfully and honestly, they're just improvisations. I don't plan them out. I don't think about them when I'm shooting. I sit down with the synthesizer when I see the movie and just play to it. A couple of times I've had a couple of themes. The Halloween theme was something my father taught me when I was young. He taught me 5/4 time. So I just took that 5/4 time that he taught me and I just wrote some chords. That was the theme. Real simple, real basic. I was cheap and I was fast.
Right here.
What was the last horror movie that you saw that you really liked?
I like a bunch of them. I really was impressed with the remake of Dawn of the Dead. I thought that was an excellent film. I thought they did a good job. But I even like some of the bad ones. I'm not a good judge.
Over here.
Like being a young filmmaker, maybe one tip you could give a young filmmaker just trying to make a film, to get his script from the script to a film.
Are you trying to make, what kind of a film are you trying to make? Are you trying to make a Hollywood film?
No, like
Just a movie?
just a like feature length film, like kind of like Halloween basically.
Okay, you guys are really lucky because you have the technology to make your own movies. We didn't have that when I was young. We had nothing near it. You can buy really lightweight, inexpensive cameras and editing on a computer, and you can make your own film. The only thing that's stopping you from making your own film is that you don't go out and do it. Just do it. Go to it. Write it, cast it, raise money from your friends and families, shoot it, cut it together and show it to people. You got it made. I wish I was your age, because you've got so many things and possibilities, horizons, the things you can do with cinema, right in your hands. You don't have to get an expensive camera. You don't have to have a big movie star. Go make a movie, man. Go do it.
In the back.
Given all of your genre output, is there any film that you've done that you wish had more of a response to it, or is more popular than it is, and people like it?
Let me clear up a misconception. Every movie that I have ever made, when it first came out, was attacked critically and didn't do all that well at the box office, including Halloween. When we first released that movie, the critics savaged it. And it made very little until word of mouth spread. So I have no experience in releasing a movie and it being a giant hit. It just never happened for me.
Okay, right here.
What can we expect from you after the award?
Well, it's nearing basketball season. Don't work during basketball. I don't know. We'll see. I'm developing a couple of things. We'll see.
Okay. Over here.
When Dario Argento was here in March, someone asked him who the directors were that he really admired and which ones he would like to work with. And he actually named you as his answer to both. So I thought I'd ask you the same both. Who are the filmmakers that you admire?
I love Dario. He's a friend, and I just admire his films a great deal. He's an adventurous creator. Who would I like to work with? In what way? Work with how?
Elaborate on the film.
I'd love to be an actor. You guys make movies, cast me as a lead.
Okay, right here.
Of all the movies you have done, which one was the most challenging for you?
Boy, that's tough. I don't know. Different movies in different ways.
Like which one you had, like what's like what was more problem for the sets? Which ones you had work done together?
The hardest movie I ever made was very early on. It was a TV movie I made for television. It was 30 days shooting. I had to do 3 hours, which means that every 10 days you had to shoot an hour of footage or more. And we had 88 speaking parts, 150 different locations. We had no money. And I've never worked so hard. I was a whipped puppy. I was a beaten dog when I did that. That brought me to my knees. That movie did. It was Elvis, the TV film.
Yeah.
So that was hard.